I was hoping that you guys could talk a little bit more about the leadership. Talked a little bit about it earlier. What are sort of the top 5 issues, if there's a strategic plan or just a long-range vision on how we're going to change all these problems that we've talked about tonight? You know, what are the top 5 issues, or whatever the top issues are that need to be addressed? And related to that, making the assumption that Cumberland is heading in a different direction with a superintendent. Maybe let's take that one off the table, that leadership change will happen. What is that dynamic between what the superintendent is responsible for in terms of their vision for change and the school committees? Like, how does that relationship work in relation to these top 5 issues that you might have? I think every committee member might have different ideas, but I think that the community as a whole sort of needs to wrap around and embrace a strategic plan here to turn things around, because every time I go to a meeting the list gets longer about what's wrong, but I don't hear a lot of what we need to do, what we can do to make things better. Is that a question?
It's not really big. We don't have it on the round, do we?
I guess I'm looking for solutions. Point blank, I'm looking to see.
Part of the issue is the state stepping in, and they're going to be dictating what's going to happen in the schools. As Mrs. Bolio said, with the math, science, and English that we're working with the, I believe the Dana Center in regards to Lincoln and Woonsocket and Cumberland. We're all on the same page. We're all going to be on the same page on everything. The math was done. They're going to move to science and the English and so forth, so that this whole area is teaching the same items as well. We need a leader who can motivate the teachers instead of having this grit in your mouth like you don't want to deal with Dr. Merrill right now. You need someone that can motivate these people to go the extra mile without being in the union contract if a teacher wants to do something, and not stop them with the union either. And we have a central administration that has to work with the mayor of the town and the town council as well. You know, too many times I heard the superintendent of schools tell the school committee, you know, it's advice and consent. I give you what you want and you consent to it for all intents and purposes. And they took her at her will. I mean, we need someone that can work with the town. I mean, the mayor is going to go forward with his mayoral academy. Next year's middle school, never mind the elementary, going to go to the high school. If he's still around, we need to work with this gentleman because he's got some great ideas that have come up as well that he doesn't even want to share with us in this school system because he doesn't want to deal with the administration right now. That's where it starts. It starts at them. I mean, they spend all that money on the school system, and they need to really work with the mayor and the town council. When the town council says, we want to know what you're doing in your budget, you can't have to write them 8 times and ask them for the information. You know, cough it up. We spent $150,000 on a computer program that the Auditor General ordered us to get, and we're doing stuff on Excel spreadsheets. You know, we need to work together with everyone in town. Thank you.
Okay. I think we need to consolidate services. There's no reason to have duplicate services. We have a $36,000 lawnmower. And I never see that the lawns look that mowed, you know. So I mean, those kind of things we don't need to have. We don't need to have a director of maintenance if Sodexo is in charge of maintenance. We don't need to have a business manager, or maybe just have a part-time business manager if there's a business manager at the town. We hired, when we first hired our tech director, it was 80 and 20%. 80% was supposed to be the schools, 20% the town hall, and now they both have full-time people who, well, as we know, one of them had a little bit of sticky fingers. So we need to really consolidate services. There's no reason on God's green earth to have a lawyer in as a human resource person when he sets himself up as a witness and then can't even act as our lawyer, and then spend another $30,000 for legal fees. No way. Okay, so that's the first thing. I think there are safety issues at all of the buildings. That high school, I was a big proponent of just knocking the whole thing down. because there are so many doors. I was an assistant principal at that high school. I know there are so many ways for kids to get out, so many ways for people to get in. And, you know, it's just an accident waiting to happen. So that's another thing that we need to do. We have looked at programs in terms of the arts program. We wrote a whole new program. It never went anywhere because, oh, we needed books. So those are the kind of things that we need to look at. When you do a curriculum review, then do something with the curriculum review. So those are all those kind of things that I think are really important to changing what's going on in the system. There's no school resource officer anymore at the middle school. I think that's catastrophic. That's exactly where they need to be.
So we're not going to give you all. I'm not going to give you 5 things, I don't think. But I think that what I would say is that we need to become an outcome-oriented district. And I guess what I would mean by that is that rather than being focused on process and sort of being really pleased with the result of, let's say, the adoption of a curriculum, I think that we really need to be focused on, is the curriculum working? And be looking at results. And as much as I know that some people are sort of data phobic and they don't really like looking at the data, I don't believe that we can hide from the data. It is a measuring stick that tells us how we're doing, and it certainly helps us see how we're doing with comparison to other districts. And at the moment, let's be honest, we're not doing very well. So then the question becomes, how do we increase student achievement? I mean, educational systems' goal is to see students achieve and learn. And I think that that needs to be where the focus is. The other thing that I would say about the school committee is I really feel that the school committee members have an obligation to act as leaders for the town when it comes to education. And as trivial as this may sound, that really means how they dress for the meetings, how they act during the meetings, do they have their cell phones out, are they texting during the meetings? I mean, when you are the governing body of a school system of 5,000 kids, you have an obligation to be a model. And then the hope is that then your sort of positive leadership will have an influence on everybody else. So those would be, I guess, the 2 major things that I would say. And as far as a new superintendent goes, I think it needs to be somebody that has the confidence in their own leadership ability to have their door open and say, if you have a problem with something, if you have a criticism, feedback, something constructive, an idea, my door is always open, come in and let's talk about it. We don't have one who functions that way now, but there are many out there who do function that way. And I would argue that those are the healthiest school systems.
Well, first I would say the acceleration of the work needs to be a priority. With NCLB, every year the targets start moving up towards 100% proficiency in 2014. And if we can't address that proficiency, we will struggle with not making AYP, with schools being forced to restructure. So I think that needs to be a priority, and I think it needs to be, again, a consensus-building discussion. How are we going to get there? What do we need to get there? And who's on board? I think we need to look at flexible grouping for students. When students aren't flexibly grouped, I think it means they're meeting the standard and they may not be exceeding the standard. I think there needs to be a flexible support within a school, whether kids are being moved up and down grades or in and out of different classrooms. I think we need to be more dynamic in the approach for that. With regard to the strategic plan, as was mentioned, the strategic plan happens once every 3 to 5 years, and I think the discussion needs to be bigger and bolder than what it was before, because before it was really targeted on scope, sequence, and pacing, technology, and there were 3 or 4 different components in the strategic plan, but I think it really needs to become system-wide, a very big discussion as opposed to a select group of folks getting to decide the direction of the district. And I think the district really needs to finish the scope, sequence, and pacing that it hadn't had for, until recently, hadn't really laid down that groundwork. And so that would allow you to say, regardless of the school you attend, or the teacher you're with, or the level that you're at, you will not miss some of the instruction that is expected of you by the standards. So I think that that work absolutely is imperative. Thank you.